Good morning. I'm Diane Mason. I'm a wire teacher here at William Holland. I started teaching here in 2003. This year would have made my, 18th year? Thanks to COVID. Next year will be my 19th. Today we're simply going to do a small pendant, 30 by 40. This is Wonder Stone that Larry Carby cut in a demo here. And we're going to do the pendant today, and in the next little demo we'll do the earrings that match. First thing you want to do is decide which way you want to wrap your stone. Do you want it perpendicular or do you want it vertical? With the coloring and the pattern in this stone, I do perpendicular. Pick out which you want at the top, which ends you want at the bottom. Go to the back side and put a small dot so that you won't get all confused and put this thing in upside down. Now, let me tell you that the definition of wire wrap is a handmade wire mounting for a stone that is professional in appearance. The definition of fine jewelry, straight out of Webster's dictionary, is a natural stone in a fine mounting. So if I take a cabochon like this one, which is natural, and I put it in sterling, which is a fine mounting, we have fine jewelry. Tiffany's would not agree with that, okay? First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a piece of tape on here, and I'm using red, so I hope you can see it. You start at the very center of the top, you come all the way around to the tape joins. If I move too fast, stop me. And you tear it off. Now, while the tape is on your stone, you're going to mark where you're going to put your wraps, and we've decided to do it like this one. Okay, so I want one in the very middle of the bottom, one on the side, and one on the other side. Okay, anyone who's had my class knows that this is done with every stone, no matter how it's wrapped. The tape then comes off of the stone and goes onto the ruler. The center at the bottom, I put it square on the number 6. Now what I have to do, the distance between this mark and this mark must be exactly the same as from this mark to this mark. Recently on Facebook, I've seen a lot of people putting stones on, and when you look at it, the two wraps are not equal. They should be equal, unless it's planned not to be, unless it's in the design. So give me just a second and let me get this straight. That made it simple. One's on 6, one's on 5, one's on 7. Now, I know from the bail that we're putting on this and the size of the stone that I'm going to add 2 inches to each end of this tape. So I'm going to start at 10, and I'm going to 2. I'm going to cut it off. I know I can hear my students right now saying, yep, she's anal about that. All right, so we're gonna do 6, that's the center, 7, this don't go quite that. All right, now, you get rid of this other piece of tape. That is how long your wires will be. That's where the wraps will go. Now, how many wires do you need? First of all, a correctly cut cabochon, and Larry Carby cut this one, so I can tell you it's right. Can you see? Has a 2 millimeter bezel. Sydney, Australia, they had a convention, and they set international standards for the depth of the bezel on a stone. 2 millimeters, of course, when you go down to an earring, it drops a certain percentage from the size of the stone. Always cover your bezel. All right, I have the length of my wire. We know we're working in gold, except we're gonna throw in one little piece of silver and see what happens. I'm using 22 gauge square dead salt, and I'm gonna cut them the length of the tape. How many do I need? Well, we'll find out. I know I'm gonna cover this bezel, right? Normally on a 2 millimeter bezel, you can put 3 wires on the outside. Then you have to have a wire in front and a wire behind. Those are known as your pull wires. Pull meaning you're going to bend them to hold the stone in. So I know I'm going to have one in the front, one in the back, and 3 on the side. Now, there's 1 for the front, 1 for the back. Those are the pull wires, 2 on the side. But I'm gonna put some more. And that's just because of the design and being able to cover this bezel. Normally I would not use that many. Now, just to give this bad boy some bling, we're gonna twist these 2 silver wires. What I have here is a handheld screwdriver. It has a chuck on the end. The chuck comes out, okay? So when it flops out on me, don't think I broke something. It's made that way. I'm gonna unscrew it, put this in, and I'm gonna twist it, okay? I'm gonna hold the other end in my pliers. Now the neat thing about this is it has to be, you may see better over here, it has to be, the pliers and the end of that chuck have to be at the same height. If it's like this or like this, that wire will not twist evenly. So I usually come right here to the edge. That is twisted. Now, if you're at home and you've never done this before, how am I gonna know that the second wire is twisted evenly with the first wire? Frankly, I've twisted so many wires in the last 22 years, I can tell. But what you do is once you start the twist, you count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. However many numbers you end up with when you get the first one, you do it on the second one. It should be equal. Alright, these should be equal, and they are. 2 twisted wires. Now, we know we want a gold in the front, a gold in the back. I want 2 in the front. I'm just putting these together. This is called making a bundle. If you cannot make a bundle, you cannot do wire wrap. All right, that gives me 6 wires. Now, I'm gonna tape these bad boys. This other wire is square, so it will turn over. You'll see me take my pliers and go back and kind of scrunch this. If you've got a square wire that's sitting off of the square, it'll snap it into place. You can put as much tape as you want to on here. Tape's cheap and it works, okay? But just remember, you've got to take it off sometime. I'll show you a neat, easy way to take that off too. You've got to have a neat, straight bundle. Like I said, if you can't make a bundle, you can't do wire. Now, that one got kind of scrunched. See, that pair of pliers put him right back where he's supposed to be. Yep. The one thing you want to do is check, and recheck. Make sure that none of these wires have jumped over each other or are out of place. They've got to stay in place. And if you've got one that's up to 1/4 of an inch shorter than the others, don't freak. 1/4 of an inch will never make or break a project, ever. And I can hear my students right now saying, she says that, she says that, she says that. Now, this is the length of my tape. I got one that's wanting to act silly. Come on, turkey. Today ain't the day, you know it. Alright, now what I'm going to do is take a fine point Sharpie, and I'm going to put these marks on here. These marks are right off my tape. Can you see that? Got marks on it. They're at the same place that they were on the tape. Alright, now, I have made this pattern many, many times. I can tell you that what we're going to do is we're going to put 5 wraps on the bottom first. Let me find my wrap wire here. And because of the size of this stone, I'm probably going to go a little bigger wrap wire. Rule of thumb is when you choose your wrap wire, it should be one size smaller than the bundle wires, always. Never, ever, ever let your wrap wire overpower your bundle. I'm going to start this. I'm going to make my 5 wraps. Then you gotta count. You know what? Yeah, let's do more. What the heck? Alright, stop and start at the bad side of the bundle is where the marks are. Alright, first set of wraps is on. It's just a little bit tilted. Okay. Now let's look at this. Right in the middle, right in the middle. Now, I'm going to start at this mark and wrap toward the cut end. That saves the distance in between. Don't want to take away from it. And I'm only going to put 4 wraps this time. 4 wraps counted on the good side of the bundle. All right, back to your tape. That one's in the right place. Let's see if we can start the other one in the right place. All right, there's 4 wraps. Now, I'm going to go back and recheck this distance, because if this is not equal, you're going to end up off. Okay, that's on 3/4 of an inch. That one is just a little short. Let's see if he'll scoot. Yep, he scooted too far. All right, now, let's take some tape off, folks. pick that up. That's the best tool you can have, your fingernails and your knife. Got to have them. All right, tape's off except for the very ends, and that will be the last thing to come off. Now, how do I know how big to make this? I'm going to my pile of dowel sticks. I'm gonna find one that's exactly the size of the end of this cab. Okay? When I look down at all I can see is the edge. I'm going to come to this wrap, holding it with my thumb, start and stop of the wraps next to the dowel. I'm going to bend it. Okay? That should exactly fit the base of that cab, and it does. Now you've got to bring it together at the top in order to make your bail. Can you see? Coming around and bending it. Now, you gotta leave air, guys. The size of this air should be just the size of an end of of an ink pen. Right there. You got to have air. Because we're going to make a forward bail, and that's going to come forward and tuck into that hole. Okay, you gotta have air. Now let's get everything nice and straight. Make sure it's right. You see, I'm using this non-skid stuff here, so okay. Bring it together, and we're going to tape it. This is where two bundles become one. Now, okay, we're getting there. And if you got it not exactly the same right here, don't sweat it. We'll fix that when we start wrapping. Goes right back on. Now I need wrap wire for the top. On a cabochon, I use 7 inches at the top. On an earring, it's 5. Yeah, you might have to cut a little bit of this off and throw it away, but guess what? It's just like cutting hair. You can always cut it off. You cannot put it back. From where the bundles come together, you measure up toward these cut ends 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to do this right here. There you go. You're going to start the wrap. Make 3 wraps counted on the face side of that stone toward the stone. Always wrap towards your stone. The reason for that is what's going to happen is it's going to pull this together, and it's like shrink wrapping that wire to the stone. I'm going to make 3 wraps. Make sure they're the same height. And as of yet, you haven't decided which is the front and which is the back, so it really doesn't matter. In just a minute, you will totally and completely decide. All right, let me get rid of this. He's got to go. Okay, and when I said on the face of the stone, this will be the top, 3 wraps, 1, 2, 3, and leave this one sticking up. Do not, whatever you do, cut that wrap wire, because that's what's going to complete your bail, okay? I like the forward bail because if you'll look at this straight on, you can see that it's flat in the back. That means it lies flat on the chest. It doesn't hold away. It's also the only bail you can make that you can not frou-frou it up and do it for a guy. Men will wear this bail. All right, I gotta make sure it fits. Make sure it looks like it's right. These little stones sometimes will swing their fanny. Yep, and this one did. It's all right, Turkey, I'll fix you. Okay, now we're going to do what's called pulling the wire. You're making a sandwich. The wire is the loaf bread. The cab is the ham and cheese. The loaf bread holds the ham and cheese in. This wire holds it in. So I'm going to the back of the stone. I'm going to catch perpendicular to this wrap if I can see it. And I'm going to make one pull toward the center of the stone. I'm going to go to the other side and do exactly the same thing. Now, as you pull these wires in, this wire slides down from this top into here. Never, ever, ever pull your top pulls first, because what'll happen is it'll go from flat to buckle. Will not hold your stone well, okay? So I've got those pulled. I'm gonna come right next to it. I'm going to pull here. Always the back of the stone first. Hey, we're getting there. Now, coming to the top, I'm going to pull. Right hand turn toward the center of the stone. That is the back of the stone. You got to remember the way this is cut. It's flat on the back, it has to sit. The top is sloped, so this other will slide up and over. All right, so we're gonna put our stone in. And he's in. Go back and look at it, see if it looks straight. Got a little bit of air, that's no problem, you can rock it. But I'm not happy with the way that top's looking, so let me work on it a second. Pull that out, pull this out. I'm gonna set it in just a tad. There we go. Do not pull here. There's a reason for that, and there's a time to pull that, and we will get to that. It has a purpose. All right. The bezel is covered. You cannot see the bezel. Now we're gonna pull the face of this bad boy. That's the front. And she likes this one, and so do I. So we're gonna come right here at the bottom, and I'm gonna make a little pull in. Right at the bottom, a little pull in, and try to get them equal. Okay, right here. Now notice I did not pull here. That's decoration. This stone is not coming out, I promise you. Equal, okay? Now I'm going down to a smaller pair of pliers, and I'm going to pull the second wire. Decoration. Okay. Oh, baby, you looking good. All right. Now, let's give it some bling. Let's pull one of the twisted silver ones. Aha. See that? All right, let's pull this one. Now, just a wee little bit. This stone is so different in color. It's Wonderstone from Nevada. It's so different in color that it easily takes the combination of gold and silver. Okay, now we have these pulls done. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna check and make sure that everything is where I want it. Oh, you silly little turkey. All right, now, if you'll look at this, you'll see that this cabochon bezel is covered. All right, that one needs to spread just a tad. All righty. Now, I'm gonna play with this and see what I can do. I want this one to have just a tad more bling. Mind, I didn't say gaudy, okay? We said bling. Okay, that looks like it's pretty equal. Now, look at your back, make sure it's where you left it, and it is, and I still have a hole at the top. Okay, now, we're gonna separate these bundles. Get rid of this tape. When I say separate, I literally mean separate. Two bundles became one, and they're going now back into two. Now, if you'll look at this, you just change the plane on this. It went from vertical, which is straight up, to horizontal, which is flat. Now we're going to pull out our wires for our bail. Get rid of this tape. Get rid of this tape. Okay, looking at the back of the stone, in the order in which they're in the bundle, I'm going to pull out 4 wires. One on the right, one on the left, one on the right, and one on the left. But you know what? I don't really like that. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of 2 of them. What I want is some of that silver wire in the bail, okay? So I'm gonna take this one down, and I'm gonna cut him off. That is one of the hardest things for a beginning wire student to get used to, is cutting off wire. They're going, oh God, if I cut it off, what's gonna happen to it? I'm gonna fall out. No, darling, it ain't gonna fall out. Now I have my 2 gold ones. That's my 2 back wires. Now I'm gonna pull the next one out, which is a silver twisted wire. There we go. Now we're working. Now you have to put these together. What you're actually doing is making another bundle. Now, I'm going to tell you, there are days these little rascals fall right together. There are days you couldn't take a truck and drag them over there. So I'm going to use a little tape. God, I love tape. Now, this is a large stone. It's a 30 by 40. So you know that you're not going to wear this on a tiny, tiny, tiny little chain. It wouldn't work. So I'm going to take my medium bail pliers and I'm going to go right back here and decide how big I want to make these wraps. How big am I going to make that bail that comes up and bends over? So I'm going to mark it. Get out of the way. For nothing decoration. Get out of the way. I'm going to mark it. There we go. Now remember what I said earlier about your wraps. The good side of the bundle, the good side of the wraps, is always away from the eye or next to the skin. Well, think about where this is going. It's going to come up and over like this one. So the stop and start of the wraps will be on the inside right here, not on the outside. Let me get me a little piece of wrap wire here. I also went down a size in the wrap wire because I don't want this to be, Lord, the only thing you see on this. I want it to be tiny. I'm going to start at that mark and I'm going to wrap toward the stone, remember? Always toward the stone. Get up, get up, get up. Went too far. Now. Remember, every time that wrap wire goes around a bundle, a pair of pliers must touch it. You do not whip it on and then mash it down. No, 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 no. That don't work. I'm wrapping from my black mark all the way into the point. Sometimes you have to finagle this little rascal. Lift him up to be able to get where you want to go. And I see right now that I got a little boo-boo I got to fix. Get your tootie up there. There we go. That is much more better. That's a technical term. All right. One more time around and I believe we're good. All right. Now I'm going to cut it off. Be careful what you cut. You see, we still have the original wrap wire. Do not cut that off. He still has a job to do. Cut this one off. And set him down. Now, you're going to stand it up perpendicular again, and you'll see how flat it is back there. All right, now you got to think about your decoration. We're going to do this decoration, so I know I'm going to need 2 wires. The rest of them, I'm going to set down. Be careful what you cut. All I need right now is for this thing to cut something that I shouldn't. Katie might have some bad words on this camera. Alright, now, give me a big boys. Alrighty, that's my decoration. That's my bale. This has to go away. Now, remember we used these to estimate. I'm going to catch it, large side in the front. Do not move the pliers, move the wire, bring it forward. Now, you can see there's a little gap in there. You can also see that I'm still holding this with my thumb. Okay? Going to pinch him down. These are decoration. Remember that wrap wire we had? Well, here's the last of his job right here. And you're going to go around one. Wait a minute. We got something back here that's not supposed to be there. Please, God, don't let that break. Thank you. Fix the next one myself. Alright, now, one, I usually go around at least 3 times. 2, 3, to the back. To the back. See, you still have an air hole right there. Alright, I'm going to cut this wrap wire off. And I'm going to tuck it in between those wires. Now I'm going to take my little bitty buddies here and make sure it's tight. Now, remember what I said earlier about don't pull the top? Now you can pull your top. There's a reason for this. I'm going to come right here and I'm going to pull it in one time, the other side, and come in one time. Now remember, you just tucked the wire right there. What happens is when you pull this bent, it pulls that wire and holds it. It won't come loose. If it does, you up in deep water, folks. All right, now we got to get rid of this. Okay, I'm going to come right here. I'm going to lift him up and I'm going to cut him off. I usually cut even with the top of my stone. You can see through there. Gone. Okay, that's how it looks right now. Now you gotta tuck this into that hole. Most people want to grab a pair of round nose to tuck with. Round nose pliers are wider at the back than they are at the end. So when you catch and turn, outside's gonna turn tighter than the inside. So you use a flat nose pair of pliers. I'm gonna use these little bitty babies right here. That's too little. I'm gonna roll it in and I'm gonna tuck it. And he is there. Now, it's almost done. We gotta decorate it. Most people say that's the hardest part, and until you get used to decorating, yeah, it is. Because you don't know where you're going or what you're doing with it. Well, I have a method that I use for wire, for sculpture. I'm going to bring both of these wires that are sticking out side by side around. Notice I'm using my fingers, not a pair of pliers. I've got them side by side right there. Now they're going around, all the way around, and down the other side. Okay, you just got to roll on one side. It's not big and gaudy. And you've got 2 wires. Very nice. Now we're going to cut them off and put just a little kink in it. How do I know where to cut? I've only done this 5 million times, okay? And there again, you can always cut a little more off. You cannot put it back. I'm not happy with him. There you go. Now we're going to let the big wire be gold. Okay. What do you think? All right, I still am not happy with this little turkey. That's better. And this is a little bit long. Let me tighten him. Now, last step. Separate your bail using your pocket knife. Simply go in and bring it out. There you go, he's done. Okay, we're at the stage now that the center wraps on these stones are on. They're exactly even, one for each one. I'm going to lie these stones down in front of me, and I've already put the little dot on the back. That's the way they'll wrap. Okay, I've got to find a dowel stick that matches the bottom of it, just like we did with our pendant. Well, hello, that ain't gonna work. Mr. Carby cut these a little pointed, and they're pretty. Let's see if we can find something. Oh yeah, that'll work. Now I'm gonna take off some tape. We got to shape these. Now, I want these 2 to stay right in front of me. Step 1 there. Let me go over here and do another step. Just remember that these wraps and this pull on these earrings are not going to be exactly like the pendants. And they don't have to be. They just need to be similar. They need to complement one another, and they need to be similar. Okay, now I'm going to bend these, but first what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape this stone. Let's get rid of that. We don't need him anymore. I'm going to tape this stone to this ruler. I only have 2 hands. These are little and they're slick. I need all the help I can get. Right in the center, I'm going to bend this stop and start of the wraps next to the dowel. Now, I know that my 3 wires go in the back. I'm going to put it up on the stone. See that? Okay. I'm going to come in at the top and bend it in. There you go. Now remember how we left air or space between the top of the stone and the pendant and the start of the wire? This time you're going to leave a little air space too. It just does not have to be quite as much. There's one. And I've already checked these stones. They match perfectly. Thank you, Mr. Carby. Diane, get your Up in order. All right. 2 on the top, 3 in the back. Well, I did something right. They came out even. If you ever do this, and one set of wires is a little bit longer or shorter than the other one at the end, please God, don't freak out. Just remember what I said. 1/4 of an inch will never make or break a project. Never. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to put them back to back, butt to butt, and make sure that they're shaped the same, and they are. All right, you go with that one. You're coming over here with me. Let's get rid of this. All right, make sure my dot's at the top, dot's at the top. Now, on the pendant, I used 7 inches of wrap wire at the top. On this, I'm only going to use 5. Instead of going 1/8 of an inch up, I'm going to go a little bit less from where the 2 bundles come together. Same principle. You're going to put 3 wraps, counted on the face side, toward the stone. I'm also using 24 gauge half round to wrap with. I think I told you guys that. There's one. Get over there, fella. Now, make sure I've got okay. I've ended up backwards here. Pay attention to what's your face and what's your back. All right. You know, even for those of us who are used to doing this, some days your fingers just turn into sticks and they don't work. All right, 2 on the front, that's what I want. Now I'm going to take these and put them butt to butt and make sure that these are equal. And they are. Okay, guys, it's time to pull the stone. I'm going to use a smaller pair of pliers, same principle as before. Pull the back wire first. And you're only making 1 pull on the bottom of this now, okay? These things are going to hang from the ears. I'm reshaping this one. He got a little out of whack. Got way out of whack. Okay, much better. Stone at the top. Now, just going to make sure that he's fitting. That the wires are where I want it. There's your back pull. Smaller pair of pliers. Bezel is covered. I'm going to come right here and do 1 pull on the front. Okay, let's get the other one to this point. pull the back. You know, when you make earrings, there's always one that's really, really good and is easy to work with. And then there's that bad boy. There's always one, no matter what you do, he just doesn't want to play in the same ballpark. Okay? That's him. This is a good little fella here. Let's pull one time. If you get to the point like this and you can't catch it, come in there with your knife and lift it up just a tad. All right, let's look at them together. Come on, Laura, get out of the way. All right, very good. Now, we're gonna do just a little more pulling. We want to kind of replicate the design that's on the front of the pendant. Kinda. All right. Not as much silver in these because of the color, but you still want it to have just a little bit of bling. There you go. And I'm going to spread these two right here. Covers your bezel. Covers your bezel. Now let's do the other one here. This is the good baby here. But I can do him without the knife. Yep. And I'll come right here and lift the silver just so you can see just a little sparkle. Now, alrighty, let's look and see if they look alike. And they do. Okay. At this point, I'm going to look at the distance that I have between the stop of this wire and the start of that stone. I'm going to bring it in just a tad, and I'm going to scoot this down. You little turkey. Here we go. All right, let's go back butt to butt and make sure it's the same thing. And it is. Okay, at this point, we're going to take off some tape and make those rabbit ears. Start thinking about your decoration for this. It's an earring. You're not going to put something as big as a boxcar on there, okay? You wrap the stone because you want to see the stone. You don't want to cover it up. So I'm thinking not a lot of decoration on here. All right, let's separate these. All right, there's my rabbit ears. Let's do this one. All right, now, we're at that point. And remember that the last thing you do is take this tape off. If you take this tape off before you separate these rabbit ears, you're going to have 10 wires sticking up just like that, and you're going to be looking down in there trying to separate it. And it'll make you say ugly words. I'll throw it upside the wall one. Now, I'm going to turn these over, the back side facing me. That's the back side of the stone facing me. Okay. I'm going to separate these wires right here a little bit. Remember how we pulled the back of this pendant where I said you caught it and you pulled it down to hold it? Same thing's true here. Looking at the back of the stone, the first wire on the left, stand him straight up. First wire on the left, straight up. What we're going to do here is we're going to do a locking lollipop. The lollipop's the thing that connects the earring to either the post or the ear wire. You lock it so that the stone won't come out. Okay, this is just a cabochon. And I'm sure that there are people who will say, well, that's a dang nice cabochon, sure. But what if it were a 2mm faceted aquamarine? You've got to understand, you don't want them falling out. Now, I'm going to twist that wire we stood up. And you see how I'm holding that? Grip that for dear life. If you don't, this wire will twist. It will twist all the way up and through there. You don't want that. I twist this to give it a little different look on the front, and also to make this wire a little stiffer so that it'll go and stay where the heck I put it. And there are days that that doesn't happen, but today's not going to be one of them. So I'm holding this right here. Sure I am. Good and tight. Now. All right. This wire that's sticking up, I'm looking at the face of the stone. Bring it straight through the gap and straight down. Okay, let's do the other one. Straight through and straight down. Now what's going to happen is we're going to cut him off. Be careful what you cut, that's close. Now, we're going to use little tiny round nose pliers, and we're going to bend this and tuck it right there. That folds in and it locks it. It won't come out. Ooh, cutter's fine. Bad news. Okay. Now, both are done. First wire on the right-hand side in the back. Bring it up and over. This is making your lollipop, okay? That's the thing that connects it. I have a mark that's just about going off my round nose. You want to make sure that you bend it at the same spot on these earrings. I'm going to come to the back. I'm going to hold it. Get out of the way. This thing's going to come over and down. That makes the lollipop. Now, come in there. He fits straight down the back of that stone. See that? Okay, let's do the other one. Now, let's put him in. Okay, at this point, you've got to make sure that they are the same. You don't want one earring up here and one down here. So I'm going to hold them equal on the bottom and make sure, get up there. I want to make sure that they're the same height, and you can see that they are not. So I'm going to shorten this one. He's a little bit long. This is when you can adjust this. After you get this thing made, you can hang that in the wind. That just simply doesn't get up there. Simply does not happen. All right. There we go. Now they're even. All right, at this point, this is going to cut off. And it's going to tuck from the back. I left him just a tad long. Okay, he's tucked. Let's get the other one cut and tucked. Okay, now we've thought about our decoration. Face me, face me. Remember, it's mirror image. If it comes from the right on one, it should come from the left on the other. Okay, let's just do one very simple one. I'll do an inside on that one and an inside on this. Oops, too Diane. Okay, that's my decoration wire. Let's get rid of everything else. I'm going to take this down and I'm going to cut it off. Careful what you cut. Smoosh him in. Leave that wire sticking up. That's for decoration. I'm going to cut this off so I can see it. A little bit long. Now, let's get the other one to that point. Okay, this one's sticking up. Smush him down. Okay, at this point I'm going to take this wrap wire and I'm going to come around over everything, over the piece that went down in the front and was tucked, over the ear lollipop in the back. I'm going to count the number of times I go around here. That's 3. I'm going to put one more. Just like with the pendant, take this to the back, cut it, and tuck it. For my little boys. Right there. Into that hole. Now remember the back of the pendant? We had to pull it at the top. Same principle here. You're going to pull that. What it does is it catches hold of that wire you just tucked there and pulls traction against it to make sure it doesn't fall out. Somebody got over ambitious with their pliers, I think. Okay, now, I know I put 4 on the front of this one. This one has to have 4. And you ask who would be anal enough to count that? I would. ask my students. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Back to the back, cut it and tuck it. Got it too tight. All right. This is the bad boy. This is the one that don't want to behave. Guess what? He's going to. He just doesn't know that yet. Okay. Now on an earring, you want to make sure that this is left open. Try not to cover too much of that. You want to see it. All right. Here it goes. These pliers are good for straightening boo-boos. Come down. Now, let's bring the other one. That one came from the left and the right. This one has to come from the left. See, one from each way. They have to be mirror image. And I see that I've got more swerve on the other one. Pull that back up a little bit. All right, I'm gonna cut him off. Careful what you cut. I'm simply gonna make a little loop right on the end. All right, now the other one. I'm gonna cut him off. And I'm going to turn him back. Okay. Now, put them down and look at them. And I am just a tad anal enough that I don't like that. I want him up just a tad more. And in. Okay. Much better. Now, I have a pair of ear wires here. And folks, if you can, it's a good idea to make your own ear wires always, especially if you sell your jewelry or if you do shows. These are considered handmade. Well, hello, why would you put a bought ear wire on a handmade earring? You wouldn't. I'm gonna put one right here. The earring is made with 20 gauge round. That's the only time I use round wire is to make an ear wire or to make a hook and eye on a bracelet. There is the finished product.